the latest episode of Writers Talking. And I've got a guest on today that I'm really, really thrilled to have on. I've been following his work for a long time, either his written work with Forbes, where he covers the worlds of gaming and then movies and TV, and also the occasional bit of writing he does on his Substack. And a lot of what he's talked about recently, I've really had interest in engaging with for reasons we'll get into later. But he is the one and only Mr. Erik Kain.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
It's a real pleasure for me to have you on because, like I said, I've been following your work for a while now. And when we've spoken about it on X, you've always been cordial with me, and I've always appreciated that for stuff we'll get into later on. Specifically regarding one film that no one seems to be able to shut up about at the minute. But that's another.
Are you talking about Masters of the Universe?
No, I wish people were talking about it.
All right. I know, me too.
But I always like to start these chats right at the beginning. So who was Erik Kain before the writing came along? Because I love seeing you've got a typewriter in the background there.
Yeah, that's just like decorative. I mean, it's a real typewriter, but I don't. I just put it there for the frame, because it's nice. Pretty, and it's all lit up and everything. I kind of got the lighting going in my office.
I like it. I like it.
Which it's funny because I set this all up. I got this office all set up nicely for doing YouTube videos, and then I crashed out and didn't make another YouTube video. And it's been like a year. So, but anyways, to answer your question, before I was a writer, I've been writing for fun since I was a kid. So I've always kind of been a writer, I guess, because, like I read a lot. My parents introduced me to a lot of good literature, like the Chronicles of Narnia and the Lord of the Rings. So like I read the Lord of the Rings in like fourth grade, the Prydain Chronicles and all of that great old fantasy that everyone should read. And so it made me want to write. And I never really did get to that point where I was writing fiction because I have a terrible attention span. So every time I start something, then I get diverted to something else. But I started writing. I was working at. I had just graduated with an English degree. I was working at an ice cream cone factory. English degrees are really useful degrees, by the way. I was working in the logistics department, so I was the logistics guy, and I had a lot of downtime, and so I started blogging about politics. And me and a number of other writers, some of whom have gone on to do big things like Freddie DeBoer and writers now at the New York Times and Slate and other places. We formed this blog called The League of Ordinary Gentlemen, and covered politics. We tried to the whole sort of philosophy was that we had people from the right, from the left, from the center, and that we all wanted to have a conversation that was civil and passionate and and at the time that was early days of blogging. So Andrew Sullivan and a lot of these sort of pioneering bloggers engaged with our work, and that was really cool. And so then I got fired kind of from my job. Well, I got demoted. I got sent to the warehouse because they found out that I was moonlighting because I had started writing for money. And so then I had to make a decision, leave this job with benefits and a steady paycheck, and I had two very young children at the time, and I decided to go ahead and do that and take on this freelancing lifestyle. And it was a really good decision because now I've been at Forbes. The site that I was first at was called True Slant, and then that was purchased by Forbes, and the management of that site was put in charge of Forbes, and their whole platform was kind of adopted by Forbes. And so that's why Forbes is the way it is now. It was very different before that. And so I was brought over, my contract there was brought over to Forbes, and I wrote about, they didn't want me to write about politics, but I ended up writing about, at first I wrote about the prison system and the war on drugs and the sort of this is all, way before BLM and everything. And I was writing about the militarization of police, things like that. And then I started writing about education, and all of those subjects were so depressing that I said to my editors, I said, can I write about technology? And they said, sure. And then I realized I really don't care about technology. So I said, can I write about video games? And they said, okay, sure, write about video games. And then that's when the Mass Effect 3 like thing happened, like right when I started writing about video games. And that just sort of like, it was crazy. Like apparently in the Forbes offices, they had like pictures of Commander Shepard on the wall, because like they were so pleased with our video game coverage and how much like traction that got. And then of course that immediately rolled over into Gamergate and blah 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 blah. And so
of which, by the way, you were one of the more reasoned voices of, because friends and I were talking about that at the time, because obviously the whole thing went very unresolved, I suppose. But again, I don't want to draw you into
I've lost your audio.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. But whatever you just said, it just kind of faded out.
I'll repeat that. Because whilst obviously I don't want to draw you into a longer conversation about it for sake of time, there were some game journalists doing some iffy things on the side. But again, it's a conversation for another time. But yeah, that was when I first started watching you. But I mean, do you remember when you first got published with Forbes and what that felt like? Because I imagine it must have felt great for a writer to get on a site like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like, it was such a sort of a shock to go from like, oh, I'm writing for this little like startup blog to, oh, now I'm a long time freelancer with Forbes. And at that point, I'd been writing for my other blog, The League of Ordinary Gentlemen, and I'd been getting published. Like, I'd been published in The Atlantic. I got published in the National Review, published in Mother Jones. I'm like one of the only people who's like getting like published in Mother Jones and the National Review at the same time. So that was fun because you don't really see a lot of crossover between, the ultra left site and this ultra conservative site. But I've sort of always had the philosophy that like these divisions are they're real, but they're exaggerated, and a lot of the purpose of media is to be sort of the mouthpiece of politics and drive division further. And we certainly saw that with Gamergate and other things, and we see it all the time. We see it still constantly, where now that it's all YouTube, I probably should have just moved to YouTube years and years ago. Probably when Gamergate started, I should have just like done that, but I had no clue like what to do with video. I just was like, I'm a writer. I don't make videos. You know what I mean? But
the only reason I do this is because I finally figured out how to do Restream, and that took a while because I am something of a boomer in every sense of the word.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, it takes a lot of learning. And I guess I just, as someone who is always more comfortable, I'm a private person, like people are always like, you should stream the video games. And like a few times I stream video games and I'm like, this is weird. This is like masturbating in public for me. Like, seriously, that's how I feel. I don't understand streamers. Like, well, I mean, I do, I get it, but like, I work. I really like doing video with somebody else, like this, where there's a conversation. And sometimes I really like just like rambling and talking, but I really don't like all the work that goes into editing and all the work that goes into everything else. So, but I like, so I was a writer. But anyways, I'm getting really off track, which I will do. I will say this also. I have had some medical issues lately, and I have not eaten solid food in over 2 weeks. So you just, my mind may be a little scattered for you.
That's okay. We'll work around it.
But yeah, I don't know if I've answered any of my questions because I forgot it.
So how long have you sort of been writing for Forbes and other websites now collectively?
I mean, I don't know. I wrote a piece in The Atlantic talking about the fantasy bubble and when it would burst. And this was before like Game of Thrones became a big hit. So, like I've been writing for well over a decade, maybe 15 or 16 years now.
I'd imagine that feels good to have been doing it for that length of time.
Yeah, it's crazy in a way. I mean, it's really scary right now with AI. Like there's so much
absolutely.
AI search is really, because I'm paid based on, I'm like a YouTuber in that respect. I am paid based on traffic, and so Google's AI search, for instance, just kills websites. And
Yeah.
so it's really kind of a crazy time. And I'm like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this, but it seems to be working still. So I just
Yeah.
keep going,
No, I
being
mean,
successful in this environment is really, I do feel very, very lucky.
yeah, I mean, I write science fiction books in my spare time, and AI has not gone down very well in the independent publishing world because
Yeah,
obviously you've got instead of hiring artists, you've got people using AI for covers.
yeah,
From which, on one hand, I don't like because artists aren't getting as much work. But there's
totally.
also the other argument because I spoke to a bunch of authors about this, and a lot of them had trouble with artists. They've been ghosted, couldn't get any corrections done or stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I understand that side of it, but also you've got uh, artificial voices for audiobook narration now, which has pissed off a lot of people
Well,
because
and rightfully so.
yeah.
Well, I think, I mean, there's so many great audiobook readers
Oh, absolutely.
out there, and so many people who would be great if given the opportunity. I'm sure,
Oh, well, like yourself, because
you
you've got
know.
a good voice.
Oh, I took a voice acting class once, and it was so
Mm.
much fun. But I just have never tried. I've never. I don't know. Like, I feel like that would just take another. I have too much going on, right? And
Yeah,
I have so
no,
many good excuses not to do things, but I would love to voice act. I think it would be so much fun, or
absolutely.
read audiobooks.
Mm.
But yeah, I've heard from people like you're saying, like artists, like to do one piece, it could take so long,
Mhm.
and it can be such a hassle with the communication and so I understand why people might turn to AI. I think AI can be useful artistically, like for here's my vision of what I'd like to see.
Yes.
Now give it to an artist who can make it real art,
Mm.
or it's really good for like creating like your avatar for D&D. you know
So
it's terrible at writing though. I think the
oh,
worst
yeah,
thing
yeah.
is writing, AI writing, and you see it so much now, like on social media and just this, you'll see someone post this long thing on Twitter. I hate calling it X or Facebook or wherever, and it's like
Extra stupid
so
name.
it's so stupid, right?
Yeah.
I swear it's just Elon Musk trolling people who have a lot of porn sites in their autofill, and they're like, "Let's go to X." Oh no, that's not X.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's so obvious when it's AI, and
Mm.
it's so bland, and yet at the same time, it can be a great tool for research and for codifying thought. And I mean, it like any technology, AI is going to be this double-edged sword,
Yes.
of which I have several in my office as well. There's
Mhm.
one right over there. See.
Yeah, I can see it. Very nice. So, obviously, you've been in the worlds of gaming, movies, and TV for a while now. And from a consumer perspective for myself, because obviously I'm no way in any shape, form, a critic, it strikes me that these worlds have changed radically over the years.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I wanted to have you on is because I wanted to have a conversation with you about these and just get your views on some of these. Because obviously you've been knee deep in this compared to a lot of the people I know. And we'll talk about gaming first, because obviously we just had a brief talk about it a minute ago. But me personally, I grew up with the Super Nintendo. I then had the PS1 and then the PS2. And for me personally, these were the best days of gaming because there was no DLC, no day one patches, no microtransactions, no buggy releases that I'm aware of anyway.
Mhm.
And of course, no live service games. Now everything possible is monetized. Prices have gone through the damn roof, and most major releases seem to me to be all style and very little substance. I mean, how do you see the whole thing?
It's so tricky because, like, one thing that I've kind of observed over time, I mean, is just how much of our bias is based on our age and our experiences.
Hmm.
Like, my first console was just an NES.
Yeah.
My parents told me they would never let me have a video game console, that I would
Hmm.
never be allowed to have one. And then they surprised me with one on my birthday when I was like 10, and I literally broke down in tears from just sheer joy. So I
Mm.
was so excited. And then I had the Super Nintendo, and I had when it came to like the early like PS1 and that in those days, for a while there I couldn't afford. I just was too poor to have a lot of those consoles, but I
Oh,
played them with friends and stuff.
my dad had to buy me the PS1 because
Yeah.
I wasn't working at the time.
Yeah, like so I missed out on some of that, like having the full experience, but I did have, I think the PS2 I was able to get.
Mhm.
And then like I had friends with Xbox, so I'd play, you know, Halo and stuff. I remember playing Halo, but then the like remake of the first Halo is like coming out this week, I think. But I remember I played that game, that campaign, in like one sitting. It was just
Mm.
one of the most amazing things. And I played PC from very early on.
Mhm.
Old Mac games, like I remember playing like old Might and Magic 2 and stuff on in black and white on the old like Apple computer my parents had.
Yeah.
I remember playing Doom. Like that's
Yeah.
like probably my first person shooter was Doom.
Mhm.
I remember the first time where my uncle, who is a big tech guy, he showed me that he could play this game with a friend and his friend was in a different location, and it was
Mm.
this thing called the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I still remember thinking like, what? Like
Mm.
I was so blown away by this, right? So like that's such a different experience from someone like my son who's 16, and his experience with video games, he's been playing since he was, you know, since he could talk, basically, because I'm
Yeah.
his dad.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
but like the kids now, like I swear there's been a big change again, because like a lot of the games that him and his friends play are like these little games on Steam that don't have like
Yeah.
live service, that don't have
Yeah.
like
I was gonna get to
you
that
know, the
actually.
graphic, the big, you know, when I was a young man, like when I was building my first PCs so that I could play Half-Life 2, so that I could play Fear, so that I could play these games, like I was like, every time there was a new graphics card generation, it was like, oh my god, the
Yeah.
graphics are so much better now. And now like people, for one thing, that has plateaued. Like
Mhm.
the graphic, you go back and look at Crisis,
Mm.
and and it's like that looks better than a lot of games today.
Yeah.
And like and I just think kids now, they don't care about those things as much, you know, which is why I've said like somebody should be making a Grand Theft Auto style game that is just as big, but with like pixel, like, you know, voxel graphics or
Yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah.
because kids would love that shit. So I don't know. I think that like games have changed, and our perspective was formed in a time when there wasn't online gaming, there wasn't
Mm.
the ability to have DLC.
Oh,
And
yeah,
in
yeah.
some respects, like I do think those things have brought cool, like I like playing games like Arc Raiders, and I like having the next update with a new map. Like that is
Mhm.
cool. I enjoy that. But at the same time, yeah, I think we've lost something, some sincerity, and there's
Yeah.
definitely a sense of like money, money, money. You got to make the money. Like Call of Duty, like seeing how, you know, the
Yeah.
stupid skins they sell in that game, and you know, you just you lose something, some of the purity of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when I had my PS1, they have some cherished memories for that console for me because I experienced Resident Evil,
Yeah.
um, Silent Hill.
Oh man, Silent Hill was great.
Oh,
Silent
absolutely.
Hill 2. Yeah.
Um,
Scared the shit out of me.
oh God, yeah. But also the PlayStation version of Doom was something because they added a creepy soundtrack to it, and
Oh,
one of the
wow.
levels had the soundtrack of children crying in the background.
Oh god.
And it was ugh, but I will always fondly remember that system the
Yeah.
most. Obviously, the PS2 was great because again, Silent Hill 2 and 3 and 4, I think, and a
So many
spew of
good
other
games.
games. But it's
Yeah.
always going to be the PS1 at heart for me. But I'm curious for your opinion on where do you think things started to go wrong? Because
Oh,
for me personally, it was Mass Effect 3
mm.
because I didn't pre-order the game because I didn't have the money at the time, and I remember seeing there was this bonus mission, and I didn't know what that meant. And then when I got it and realized day one DLC, what's this? I've got to pay for it. Okay. And then when I bought it, because I wanted to have the full experience of this game, and then realized, wait a minute, this was cut from the game, wasn't it? because obviously the initial mission was something like 20 minutes long, and then you had the overarching story along. I thought, no, this isn't right. And then that ending was something else entirely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was the microtransactions for the multiplayer, which I indulged in because I didn't know any better at the time. And
Sure.
thinking back on it now, and obviously I can't prove this, but I'm pretty sure that I got better weapons in the cases that I purchased rather than the ones I earned. But again, I can't prove that, but that was what I remember.
I think there's a lot of sneaky stuff that goes on with that. I swear there's like some systems working in certain like multiplayer competitive games where they offer some new, pack with just, the gun's the same gun, but it looks different, has different attachments, but they give it some kind of little tiny boost or something. Maybe it's temporary, but like every time I've purchased something like that, I'm like, wow, I'm playing better with this for a minute. I don't know. Maybe it's, maybe it's just in my head. Was it Mass Effect? I mean, some people would say it was like the DLC horse armor for Oblivion, right? Now that feels so quaint, so pedestrian. But I don't know. I mean, it was kind of inevitable with the internet, I suppose, that this sort of stuff would start happening. And like, what's sad is like a good expansion that comes out later was wonderful, like Blood and Wine for Witcher 3, or a number of like these expansions where I kept hoping GTA 5 would get a cool expansion, and that never happened. They lied to us, because expansions like that means that they're just giving you more of the game that you enjoyed. But yeah, day one DLC. I think about like some of my favorite games obviously are like Dark Souls and stuff, right? So all those games. And I think about like how much worse those games would be if they like cut out parts of the game right away and made you buy them right from the beginning, or if you could only get certain armor sets or weapons if you bought them. And there's also the like in online games or games where you earn things through play. That's a satisfying grind, right? Like you earn the new attachments, you earn the new guns, you earn new skins for your characters by playing. And that is the satisfying part of a gameplay loop. Whereas I buy them isn't really satisfying. It just costs money.
Yeah.
And they excuse that by saying, well, the dads who work 50 hours a week, they can't keep up with these kids. And it's like, well, tough for them. Like,
exactly.
Like, no, you're not doing this for them. You're doing this for shareholders. You're doing this to make money. And it does clearly make money, but also we've seen, I think some pretty big shifts in, again, like what younger gamers are prioritizing in their video games. They're not as excited about. It's just the same thing as like, they're not as excited about Star Wars as because there's been a break of trust. So, and almost the whole like AAA video game industry is guilty of some version of breaking trust with their consumers and their fans.
I mean, to touch upon something you mentioned earlier, so myself in particular, and a lot of my friends, we're gravitating towards indie games now, because I used to be on PlayStation, but I got to the point one day where I realized there is nothing coming out on this thing that remotely interests me anymore. And I realized that a lot of the good stuff was coming out on Steam, which is why I gravitated towards a Steam Deck. And to give you one example of what I'm talking about, because both my sons absolutely love this game, is of course Expedition 33.
Oh yeah.
Of course, when my oldest son first saw my Steam Deck and he went through the list of games, he went, "There's a surprising lack of Expedition 33 on this, Dad." So I ended up buying. I haven't had the chance to play it yet, but its reputation speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous game. It's really neat. It's a lot of fun.
But what I can tell with these games is a lot of the indie ones, they seem to be made with more care, because I'm guessing it's a smaller team and not a big studio, a big company. But for the average customer like myself, these games are actually worth the money. I mean, what's your take on the whole thing?
Well, so I play a lot fewer games than I used to
Mm.
because my time is just divided in a lot of ways.
Yeah, same.
And a lot of times, I admit, I play games, online games like Call of Duty, because it's a time that I can spend with friends who I don't get to see.
Hmm.
So a lot of my gaming is social now, but I do love some indie games, like Blueprints. Did you
Hmm.
did you play that? I thought that
I've
was
heard of it, haven't played
just
it.
fantastic. And well, there was that game Dispatch, which I really enjoyed.
Mm.
Although I played that on PlayStation, but I think it is on PC also. I mean, I do think that you get more, or like Hollow Knight, Hollow
Yeah, I
Knight
know Hollow
2.
Knight. Yes, yes.
These games are made by smaller teams that are passionate about what they're doing and
Hmm.
have more, I think, less corporate interference with what they're doing.
Well, this was made by ex Ubisoft devs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
ex Ubisoft,
Hmm.
right? They got away from that. It's
Yeah.
similar to like Arc Raiders, which
Yes,
a lot of
I've
those
seen that.
devs came from EA and stuff,
Hmm.
and made something that I think is a really really cool game. Although I'm sick as hell of it now, but it was really fun for a while. And I really enjoyed what is that game? The new game from the developers of It Takes Two. The the co-op game. Why can't I think of the name of that game? I'm gonna look it up because I thought it was so good.
Mm.
It Takes Two is by the Hazelight, Joseph Fair. The Split Fiction. Split Fiction.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
Did you play Split Fiction?
I've not played it. I do know of it though.
I played that with my daughter, and it was so cool and so much fun, and obviously just such a work of like imagination and yeah, like that studio is published by EA, but
Mm.
they have creative control of what they do, and you can just tell
Mm.
in every game they make. Like the first game of theirs was A Tale of Two Brothers, and that
Hmm.
wasn't co-op, but you moved each
Yeah,
brother
I
with a
remember that
different
one. Yeah.
joystick, and I just thought that was a brilliant game.
Mm.
And and the indie stuff, I've been playing it for a long time. Like FTL is still one of my favorite games
Yeah.
ever. Darkest Dungeon. I feel like, okay, so when, like, if you go back 10 years, 5 to 11, 12, a long time ago, on Steam you could always find like the cool new indie game pretty easily, and now there's just so much shit I can't keep up with it. Like, the only reason I know about half the stuff is because my son and his friends are playing these new games, and some of
Yeah.
them I'm just like, like Goat Simulator got huge, or like all
Oh yeah.
these different weird wacky games, but it's really cool. I just think that it's so cool that there are so many different games and so many different creative people that are able to make games. And I think Steam remains this one great bastion of something good in the gaming industry.
Yes.
Thank God for Steam. I mean, I remember when I had Steam and there was like Half-Life and like 3 other things on that, like Counter-Strike,
Yeah.
which I still sometimes dabble in Counter-Strike too, and I'm terrible at it, but I don't know. I do think that I try not to be too despondent about the gaming industry as a whole, because while there is a lot of problems in AAA, you have seen a lot of really positive things in the indie space, and even in,
Yes.
like, I would say AA gaming. Something like Arc Raiders or is not, I would not call that like a AAA game.
Mm.
But I would say it's, and in that $40 price range type games, I think there's a lot of potential there.
Mm.
And in the $10 price range,
Hmm.
and then games like Blueprints, like I was saying, like that's maybe my favorite puzzle game since Myst.
Hmm.
I just think it's tremendous, and it's just such a small, sort of simple game in a way, but it is so uniquely what it is, and I love
Hmm.
that.
So, one issue that's cropped up through the gaming world is, of course, the ever increasing prices, particularly of the hardware. And
Mm-hmm.
a viewpoint that I've seen a number of people say, and I personally am starting to agree with it, is that these prices continue to jump. That a lot of the consoles in particular are going to be seen as luxury items which few can afford. And I point the finger here at the Steam Deck as one example, because, like I said, I've got one, but I managed to get mine before the prices went up.
Yep.
So, as an example, I paid, I think it's £560 for the 1 terabyte version because I didn't want to have to worry about space. But now, the half a terabyte version is more expensive than the terabyte version, and the
Yeah.
new price of the terabyte version is what you see before you. And I just think, Jesus Christ, when will this shit end? And obviously, the price points that came out for the Steam machine were just unreal.
Yeah.
Again, as a critic, what's your take on the whole thing?
Well, I mean, some of it is tied so directly to global economics.
Yes.
That it's hard to really entirely fault the industry for this, because we have had, like, with the tariff situation and now, of course, like the inflation and whatnot we've seen from the war in Iran and rising fuel prices, all that stuff. It's not just gas prices that go up. It's like everything in the whole world gets more expensive. So there's some of that. And I mean, I look at those prices, and iPhones aren't really like that much different, right? But of course, with an iPhone, you're usually on some sort of contract with your service provider, and you get some sort of deal. And I think like prices do have to go up with inflation, and that's just one of the shitty things about everything in the world. Like, everything gets more expensive. But yeah, I mean, the real problem, as I see it, though, is not just that the prices have gone up, but that exclusive gaming on a PlayStation or an Xbox just doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't.
Like, what are they giving us for these? Like, why would I want to play on a PlayStation when, like, there's hardly ever a game that comes out on PlayStation 5 that I can't just play on PC, or that isn't appealing enough to me anyways, right? Like, we are not in the era of PS1, PS2, when there were tons of games that you could only play on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So if you want to charge these kinds of prices for your consoles, you better have a bunch of really good games that I can't play anywhere else to entice me to buying one. Because, like, why, so I think it's less that it's just that they've become more expensive, which I just sort of expect is going to happen. And that's an unfortunate thing with PC also, is like AI has made, like, RAM and GPUs like very, very expensive now. And they were already expensive.
I'll pause here and say, fuck you, AI bros.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've really taken something that was beautiful. I upgraded this PC that I'm on to 64 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
Like, literally a week before, like, all the RAM jacked up in price.
I built my youngest son a gaming PC, and it's a really decent model. And I built it back in 2024, and I thank my lucky stars I did them, because the prices of what you just talked about are obscene now.
It's obscene, yeah. And so there are a lot of factors, outside of the control of these companies like Sony and Nintendo and Steam or Valve, I should say, that are affecting hardware prices. But what is in their control is making good games.
Yeah.
And we see these studio closures, like Sony has shut down so many studios.
Yeah.
And it's just almost like when I go back and I reread just of the studio closures, every time I go back, I'm just like, seriously, how could you kill these studios instead of supporting them and making more games? Because at this point, like, I don't know. I don't really see the point. Like, I have consoles that I probably spend more time just watching, like, Netflix and Prime Video and stuff on my PlayStation than I do playing games on my PlayStation. And I spend my time playing games on my PC. And my son spends most of his time playing games on PC, unless he has friends over and they're playing something like Mario Kart or Mortal Kombat or one of these games where or a lot of times they play Black Ops 3. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's like 10 years old or something now, but they really like to play that, like,
I
custom
get
games
that.
on there. So that's like when and then once in a while there's a game, you know, that I want to play, like I've been playing the remake of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag on the PlayStation 5, because that's a game where I feel like I want to sit down on the couch and play it. I don't necessarily want to be on my computer or like a mouse and keyboard. Because that is the best Assassin's Creed game, by the way, and the remake is pretty good. It's got problems, but it's pretty good. So
I always fondly remember online gaming with friends on the World at War zombies. Specifically the Derizer map, where we'd all get up on the catwalk with our perks, and I always made sure I got the RPG and Pack-a-Punched it in. Man, we had some fun games on that.
The zombies. That's one thing that like Call of Duty has done really well, and they've had their misses, but they've really built a community around the zombies mode, and it's fun to see. Like it's fun to see my son and his friends playing zombies mode from, you know, whatever 8 or 9 versions back, and just having a blast. And it is cool. I typically, when I play Call of Duty, I like to play multiplayer or Warzone. But that's mostly because like none of my friends want to play zombies ever. So I'm like, okay, fine. I just play what you guys want to play all the time.
There's also the trend that's popped up, like, I've been reading about, where a lot of people have gone into retro gaming.
Yeah.
Buying old consoles and either collecting the games or modding them and downloading all the games for it. It's something I wanted to ask you about, because obviously emulation, officially, it is piracy. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
But myself and many others, we consider it preservation. Because a lot of these games you just can't get anymore.
Especially older games, yeah.
Well, my favorite one to point out is the arcade game of Aliens versus Predator. I loved that game as a kid, and just so you see where I'm coming from, I mean, I've got this Raspberry Pi,
nice,
which has literally got loads of old games in it from loads of old systems. Because yes, it is piracy. I do appreciate that, but honestly, I don't give a shit, because a lot of these game companies are so greedy now. But I did want to sort of get your take on the whole thing, because one thing that I do remember you writing about back in the day was, of course, this article. For a couple of reasons, which we'll get into, but
it's a fun story.
But I'm just curious your take on that, given what you wrote here, and obviously the quote unquote fallout.
That fallout was interesting.
I'm going to ask you about it.
The tweet, my most famous tweet, say it to my face, Ben.
I have to ask, did he?
No.
No, I can't.
No one ever does.
No.
Everyone's a fucking chicken shit. Like, no one would ever. I'm sorry. Like, all the people who have like tried to get me fired or tried to, like, if they saw me in person, they would not fight me.
Would you have that? I wouldn't fight them because I'm
about you. I'm a really peaceful person, so I'd never start it. But like, no one would ever start it with me. I'm. They talk a big game on Twitter. You know, that's their whole thing.
Yes,
they're bullies, and they sick their sycophants on you. And anyways, that article, I waded into territory I did not know was a landmine field. You know, like,
well,
it was a game that had never been published.
Yeah,
and a developer was going to publish it on the original cartridge, and they were charging like $60 for it. And you know what? Honestly, like, in retrospect, like, that's fine, that's cool, and I respect that. Like, I think it's cool that they were doing that. And I think I made some offhanded comment that, like, well, or you could just play the emulator because it's never been published before, and this is the only way this game has survived. And I wasn't saying like you should pirate like honestly, this was such a weird niche thing, because like only the most diehard collectors of like lost games were ever going to buy this in the first place. That developer, I can't remember what their name was, but that developer had a very niche market, and they were going to be selling this game to a very specific group of people. But most people will ever only play that game if they play it on an emulator. But the fallout, of course, was Erik Kain's promoting piracy, and he wants you to steal, and he should lose his job, and all that.
That's where I'm going to sort of interject, because I read the article, and in my opinion, you didn't do anything wrong. You may have posted the link to this site, which, you know what? so what? Because if you want to emulate something, there's a will, there's a way. It's like any old thing. If someone wants to do it, they'll do it regardless. So I
Right.
don't think you
Totally.
posting a link on the article was any such crime. But
I
um,
actually saw some of the people who got on my case about that, and by got on my case, tried to have me fired.
yeah,
Um, later posting, I can't even remember what his name was. Ben, go to my
Kuchera,
Facebook. Kuchera.
yeah,
I couldn't even remember his name. What happened to that guy? Anyways,
I was about
I
to mention that.
remember
Don't worry.
he wrote an article. Oh, and that followed me around. Like I'd go to like GDC and stuff, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, you're the one that say it to my face, Ben." And I was like,
Mm,
"Yeah, that was me." I was cool for a second, but no. He like wrote a piece about there is you probably know of the Star Wars original trilogy. Like there's a whole like group of just normal people who have reconstructed those films from laser discs and like old reels and created like high definition versions of Star
I
Wars.
think I have heard of this. Yeah.
So you can actually watch, I think now in 4K, maybe even the
Mm,
original unfucked up by George Lucas versions of those, but you have to pirate them. But there's like a rule. There's an honor system. You have to own a copy if you want to download this.
no, I understand that.
Anyways, and I think that's amazing, and I think it's a wonderful thing that they've done. But he posted about this at one point, like promoting it. I'm like, dude, that's piracy. Like you tried to get me fired for this. Like
Mm,
I'm not against this. I think it's great. I have those copies personally because I never ever want to watch the George Lucas edited Star Wars bastardizations
yeah.
again.
I mean, I'll touch
So
on that briefly. I mean, I didn't mind some of the stuff he put back in, like
no,
example
it was all
with
terrible.
with the footage of the Wampa in the cave in Empire. I didn't mind that, but
Okay.
when he did that bit where Han walks behind Jabba and steps on his
Yeah.
tail, when you see him walk over, his figures like this. I sat
Yeah.
down and went, mm.
Or the in Return of the Jedi, the in Jabba's palace, the whole like dance song
Yeah,
thing,
no,
it's horrifying.
yeah, hated it.
I the last time I tried to watch that, I got to that scene and I just wanted to like I wanted to I didn't want to shoot my TV. That's not true. I wanted to go back in time
Mm.
and stop him. I wanted to go back in time and just say, George,
Yeah,
just stop, man, stop.
and I'll mention this while I'm reminded of the whole shoots first scene
Yeah,
where Greedo
so
shoots first.
silly.
You see Han's head go, no. But
I-
yeah, but to drag it back just for a
Terrible.
second. So,
Yeah.
do you see these things as preservation, even though it is piracy?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much of it is like intent also, right? Like I
Yes.
think for one thing, I think whatever it takes to preserve art,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, short of like killing people, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think is probably worth doing. So if that requires emulation and the work of normal citizens to save these games that would otherwise really literally disappear,
Yeah.
I think that is preservation, and I think that should be supported. I wish it was supported more by I know there is some support from like national institutes and charities and things, but obviously there's too much work for
Yeah.
that to be handled without just normal people doing it. And on the other hand, like when people just pirate everything because I don't know, like I feel like it can be an excuse, like, oh, you're pirating this like indie game now because because you can. It's like those guys need your support. Like
Yeah.
they're
That's
not,
stuff I
and
don't
even the
agree
big,
with.
even sometimes like these big companies, it's like like yeah, they suck. These companies suck, but they are also employing a lot of people. And when you see the layoffs and stuff, yeah, that's not just because people are pirating games. That's probably a
Mm,
really minor issue. It's because of terrible corporate decisions. But also, like I guess I think that it can be used as an excuse because people just don't want to spend money,
mhm. Yes.
And I think if you can afford to support creative people, I think that's what I would hope people would do.
Yeah. But I mean,
Not that I haven't pirated, like when I was young and broke as shit, like and couldn't
Yeah.
afford, like I remember like back in the day, um, ripping episodes of The Office and The Sopranos and shit because I couldn't afford cable. I didn't, I couldn't, so I had all these DVDs, burned into a big old flip book of like the episodes
Mhm.
and like I did that when I was broke and like whatever, and now I've spent thousands of dollars on Blu-rays and
Yeah.
subscription services. So I think like the scales balance. I think piracy, it's so funny to actually watch like a Blu-ray now because the FBI warning comes on and it's like
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
crime and and then I think of that South Park episode about the kids downloading the music illegally, and they like go to all the rich celebrity houses and they're like, he was going to buy a private jet this year but now he can't because of you. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so like I don't know, I think it's not as big a deal as a lot of people say it is. It absolutely is, can be used as preservation.
Yeah.
And if you can, I say support creators who you think who you want to succeed.
Yeah.
They do need money to do that.
But to sort of draw a close to the whole episode with that article, you did write this piece on your Substack, which I think was a very thoughtful piece about the whole thing. Because obviously, Kuchera, he did sort of spurg out and disappear from Twitter.
He did.
But the piece that caught my attention, I'm just getting to it now
I
because
forgot all about this piece.
oh, it's okay. But there's your famous tweet there. Say it to my face, Ben.
Yeah.
But it's this bit. Yeah, when you talk about was when a chief journalist going after me, and this bit here. Honestly, I was sitting in the hospital with my young child, experiencing my first real dogpiling on Twitter, and it was both new and horrible at the time. And I thought, man, that's really shit because obviously I'm a parent myself, but I think there are people out there that don't really consider the potential effect these dog piles can have.
Yeah.
Because obviously a few years ago, the game developer, and I call her that in the loosest possible sense, Zoe Quinn made the tweet where she said she'd been, I think, sexually and mentally abused by an ex-boyfriend, but didn't name the guy. But then people worked out who he was. And the game he'd been working on, he was sacked from it, and we had his name removed from the credits, and he was basically persona non grata. And by the end of the week, he was dead. He'd killed himself.
Yeah.
And Quinn basically went into lockdown, but remained defiant. Like, I was the victim here. Like, were you? Because I'm not so sure you were now. And if this poor guy's dead. I mean, what do you sort of think about that in retrospect now, this whole thing? Is it just something you don't think about anymore? Because obviously Ben Kuchera, whilst I never met the guy, what I know of his reputation, and I'll put this politely, not the best.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that the unintended consequences of our actions are really something that we should always, I mean, it's one reason that I don't get on Twitter a lot, and when I do, I always find myself like kind of hating life.
Yeah, I keep it.
There's a lot of cool people on Twitter. Like, I mean, and obviously this is why we're doing this now. But there's just so much. There are so many people who are just so willing to do and say damaging things without considering like what other people might be going through, and I think that's just like one of the most fundamental like elements of just basic human empathy is that like somebody might be a real asshole to you, but maybe they just lost their job. Maybe they just are going through a real mental health crisis. Maybe, and I don't know. So I try and I often fail to not just be heedlessly rude or cruel. I have a friend that says cruelty is the worst thing we can do, and I think that's probably pretty true in whatever shape it takes. But like, there's this like bloodlust, and prominent people, and we saw this a lot, during the heyday of like the wokeism, the SJW, like the zeitgeist or whatever, where there were very powerful, influential social media figures who could sick very powerful crowds on people. There was I can't remember her name. There was a porn star who killed herself also because she got dogpiled so badly because she And I could be getting this wrong, the details wrong, but I believe she was saying that she wouldn't be in scenes with gay men because of the higher risk of contracting HIV. Not because she doesn't, not because she was homophobic, just
No.
her body, but she was dogpiled and just driven to actually committing suicide. And that's like these are extreme examples, right? But
Yes, of course.
I think that really, I mean, even people who I don't like and who I think are, maybe dishonest or have ulterior motives, or who are, there's the grifter term, which is used often very incorrectly, but people who I just don't really have a lot of respect for. I also don't want them to be dogpiled. Like, I want them to understand that they're wrong. I want them to see reason. I want a lot of things that are impractical in reality, but I think social media it gives us a great ability to connect with people and to learn things and to see new perspectives, but it also is just this very quick insta mob. You can just insta mob somebody, and it can be really distressing. It can be really distressing, and even though, and I'm sure it's much worse for people who are, and I'm sure it's worse for women than it is for men. But not a lot of men, that they maybe are not in a great mental space. And certainly, when I was in the hospital with my 2-year-old son, and he was had pneumonia and was not
I've had
breathing,
that. It's horrible.
it was a really scary situation, and to also be very, very new in my writing career, and having all of my colleagues turning against me, my supposed colleagues. Well, I definitely certainly lost a lot of respect for a lot of the gaming journalist community then. And I haven't gotten it back. Although I've met there's so many great game journalists that are just not the Twitter ones, They're out there I've met them at conferences, I've met them at Call of Duty conferences, and they're just, they're just dudes writing it, mostly dudes, some chicks too, writing about games. They don't go in there with much politics. Maybe they're guide writers. Those guys are heroes. They are heroes of game journalism, and they get no respect, right? But they're also not out there causing all this trouble. There are certain particular game journalists who over the years have just tried to stir the pot, and I think their status has been diminished in the recent kind of shift we've seen. But everything's cyclical, and now I feel like maybe we're seeing a little bit more of the sort of the anti-woke side getting just as kind of ludicrous and over the top as the woke side was before. And, we're just going to see it go like this, crazy woke shit. And then the right wing they're making more sense. And then they become dominant and they're bullies and they're saying a bunch of crazy shit. And then it keeps switching around and stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even consider myself a centrist, but I do think that the extremes tend to mirror one another and employ the same sort of tactics and dishonest, manipulative or bullying tactics that we see.
So, for the final question on gaming, then, how do you see the future of gaming world? Do you think we will? How do I put this? Do you think prices won't get so stupid and they'll stop and fall, or do you think they'll never come down now that they've reached this point? Because also, I should have mentioned, we get games charged now for $80-$90, and I've heard the viewpoint that now that price, it's never coming back.
Yeah, I mean, the market is such an interesting and complicated and unpredictable thing, really, because it's also interconnected. I mean, is there a recession coming in the next couple of years? A lot of people would say, yeah, probably there's a recession coming, and it's being brought along by war, the war in the Middle East, the war in the Ukraine. These are having deleterious effects on supply chains and prices and inflation, and that a lot of the stock market currently is similar to the housing market, though for totally different reasons, as being lifted up on promises of AI and productivity gains, but
Yeah.
of course then there's so many unknowable factors like what that does to jobs, what
Mm.
that does to, and so the games, you know, are just one little part of that huge piece of the puzzle. But like, yeah, if we have a recession, what does that mean for game prices? If people suddenly have, you know, are suddenly unemployed in much greater numbers and there is a lot less money, you know, maybe game prices do have to come down.
Mm.
Inflationary effects stop at a certain point. They have to.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I mean, overall, yeah, prices are going to keep going up. In the bigger scheme of things, it's going to go up. And
Mm.
if wages don't keep up with that, then yeah, maybe we'll see fewer big, huge $250 million games, and we'll just see the market shift towards smaller stuff. I mean, I think we're already seeing that. So,
Mm.
but as far as predicting, like I swear to God, like I go back in time and I think about like when I was first doing this, like writing out Mass Effect or Star Citizen. I,
Mm.
I remember interviewing what's his face from Star Citizen like 15 years ago or something. Like, this game looks so cool. I can't wait till it releases.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like my idea of what gaming would look like, what the industry would look like, what the internet would look like, what, you know, none of it has come to pass. Like, it's all so different. I feel
Yeah.
so out of touch in so many ways, right? Like
Mm.
from what younger people are into, you know, I don't like the social media landscape itself, like what people like now everybody's just like on TikTok. Everybody
I hate
has an
TikTok.
opinion. Everybody has a channel and a brand and a social media. Like when I started out, like, you know, it wasn't like that. And maybe I'm just an old dinosaur now or something, but like it's too much. There's too
Yeah.
many people talking about too many things all the time. And for me, it's just like I just check out. I'm like,
Yeah, I understand totally.
I'm gonna go read a book or something.
Yeah. I read more nowadays than what I ever did, and I don't
I
have any
love
plans
reading.
for that at all.
Yeah.
So, to talk about movies and TV now,
Yeah.
for me, I remember when I started going to the cinema to see movies, and it was back in 2016. And I remember that it was that year because that was when David Ayer's Suicide Squad came out.
Hmm.
And as the years went on, I noticed that there was just less and less coming out that appealed to me as a person. And there were a couple of years I didn't even go to the cinema at all. Nowadays, it takes a lot for me to get up and go see a film.
Me too.
How do you see the world of movies and TV nowadays?
It's sort of similar in a way to video games. I mean, we've seen some really cool stuff coming out from newer
Yeah,
directors, and some YouTubers are are making theatrical releases,
yeah,
self-funding them. And there's some really great, I think horror in particular has had like a really good time where
yes.
almost no other genre has been succeeding. Like I loved Weapons. I thought that movie
Oh, it's
was just
fantastic.
so fantastic. So fantastic that my teenage daughter saw it 3 times in the movie theater, which is like what teenage girls did for Titanic back when I was a teenager, you
And I
know?
saw that in the
Uh,
cinema.
yeah, and like, and of course, I remember the days like in high school when like Blair Witch Project or something came out, and it
I
was
saw that
like,
in the cinema.
you know, Scream or something, and everybody was at the theater, and it was like crowded outside the theater. It was like
Hmm.
it was like it was an event, and
Yeah,
even honestly, even kind of when the new Star Wars movies were coming out, there was a bit of that. And actually, one of the reasons I enjoyed this the Last Jedi more than I think I did after I thought about the Last Jedi.
yeah,
The experiences that me and my girlfriend at the time and my kids dressed up in costumes, and we went to this movie theater where you can get dinner and like drinks and stuff with the movie, and they had the Cantina band, they had Darth Vader, they had stormtroopers,
cool.
all in costume, all actors in the theater, and it was just like this great experience. And so like, you know, we were all hyped up, and like after the movie, my son, who was like 7 or something, had his lightsaber, and so I was like, man, that was fun. And then I thought about the movie more, and I was like, man, that was that wasn't very good, was it? But it was fun. It was fun to go to.
I always chuck the bit that makes me laugh with The Last Jedi is that scene where they fight the Red Guard or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And I think
Praetorian Guard.
yeah, and they must have realized when Rey's fighting that one near the end, who's got the 2 daggers, that the way the fight would gone, he could have quite easily stuck one in her back. Because if you watch carefully, one of them just disappears from his hand. And I always
it's a force edit.
Yeah,
that's another power they introduced. The force edit.
I always get a little chuckle from that. But at the same time, the bit when Leia suddenly becomes Jesus in space and just flies towards
Mary Poppins Jesus.
Yeah, I just looked and thought, what? So,
I actually, the things that people had a big problem with that movie, like Luke himself, I didn't really have that big of a problem with, because I kind of like the jaded old man thing, but I really hated the whole like, we're running out of gas, let's have this slow, boring ass chase
that was bullshit.
Like, give me a break. It's so dumb. But like I could go on and on about the sequels and what went wrong, but where I see movies now, like I don't know, like I'm like cautiously optimistic because there still are these movies that are bringing in big crowds, and like I liked the Odyssey. And
we'll get to that, don't worry.
And it was, the theater was packed, and I was excited about it. I'm so excited when theaters are packed because I love movie theaters. I really do love going, and the experience. Usually, not always. Sometimes people bring children to movies they shouldn't bring children to, and I fucking hate that.
A quick note: when my wife and I were boyfriend and girlfriend, we went to watch Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in the cinema.
Okay,
and we're sort of here. And far up on my left, there was a mum that had got her baby in the cinema, and obviously the loud noises were making this baby cry.
Yeah,
and I was
traumatizing.
Like, and I was like, Jesus Christ, really? But anyway, carry on.
No, I remember going to Saving Private Ryan with my dad, and just down a few seats there was a family with like some little kids, and we were watching the beach, the Normandy invasion, and just people's body parts flying off, and there's this like 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and I was just like, you just want to go over and be like, you are a terrible parent. Like, why did they even let you? Why do theaters even let kids into movies like that? Like, I don't know. It drives me crazy. But I've been to a bunch of movies. I went to Masters of the Universe, and the crowd clearly had a great time with that. It was so fun to watch that with people. Weapons, like I said. I saw Sinners in the theater, and while I have issues with that movie, there was some cool stuff that was just really fun to see in a theater.
Well, that scene with what's the actress's name? Haley Stanfield, where she talks about what the character had done to her sexually. That literally did the rounds on the internet, and I thought that was a funny bit of dialogue from that.
Yeah. But there was also in that movie, there's the scene where the music, they start to play the music, and it like transports the whole interior of that speakeasy or whatever it's into different time periods, and so suddenly there's people playing electric guitar, and it was so cool. Like I would watch that movie again just for that scene. I think that one of the things that was keeping theaters kind of healthy was the Marvel Cinematic Universe until they started to suck. And every release started to suck.
Because this is something I know we've talked about on Twitter, because you were talking about the DC universe at the time, and I think it was the Flash movie, and I said that I've long gone off superhero movies because honestly they're just boring to me now. And when you look at the stories, it's the same story with a different coat of paint. Because obviously I saw Endgame in the cinema. I watched No Way Home at home because my son practically badgered me to watch it, and I ended up loving it because of the whole dynamic with the 3 Spider-Men.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and I took
my
wife.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah, I took my It was personal for me because Tobey Maguire was always my Spider-Man, and to see him walk through the door was like,
But, and actually, even though I didn't like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, I really enjoyed him in that cameo. He was so charming. And
he got to close a major story arc at the end. Spoiler alert, when he saves a certain individual from falling, and I always appreciated that. And then I took my wife to see Deadpool and Wolverine for no other reason than it's because Deadpool going to fight Wolverine. But other than that, I'm just bored of them now.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, that's like why something like Masters of the Universe, which isn't a superhero movie exactly,
no,
that's or even the I loved the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie. Both those movies did like action adventure in a
yeah.
way that was so fresh and fun and sincere, and they just they make the superhero movies look so bland in comparison.
Well, the Dungeons and
And
Dragon movie had that wonderful scene in it where Chris Pine's character says why he's the biggest failure.
yeah,
And that one moment, because I love those kind of dialogue scenes and characters where you see behind the veil, as it were. And this guy lamenting the fact that he'd done something stupid and it got his family killed. And I thought,
yeah.
I love that scene because, you know, this guy's kind of crumbled before them. But you just don't get a lot of those scenes in movies like the Marvel movies because it's all spectacle. I mean, it's like
It's
Scorsese.
spectacle and it's flippant.
Yeah, as Scorsese said, they're theme parks. I thought, yeah, he's right.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so another thing I loved in the Dungeons and Dragons movie is when the barbarian chick goes and talks to her ex, who's the little tiny guy, and it's a funny scene, right? But she comes out and she's upset, and so Chris Pine's character starts to sing a song, and my Marvel trained brain was expecting her to be like, "Shut up," like
Mm,
da, 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 like some sort of boss girl, but she sings with him.
mm.
It's this moment of like camaraderie and I was like, damn, that is so nice to see, that instead of like this sarcasm and instead of the constant sort of resorting to these flippant one-liner type humor, or instead we got this moment of genuine friendship,
Yeah.
it's just like it felt good, and I want more of that. And I think we do get some of that, and I think Spider-Man has been one of the more resilient superheroes
Yes.
in cinema. I'm a Batman guy, so I'm really sad because there haven't been a lot of great Batman things, but we did get. I thought the Penguin show was pretty good, and I thought Robert Pattinson's Batman was
Right.
not
Yeah.
terrible.
The Robert Pattinson Batman, I think it's my favorite one
It's really
because
good, but it's too long.
yeah, it does drag a
You
little
know,
bit, but
yeah,
I love noir stories,
yeah, for
and that
sure.
was what that was for me. But I'm glad you mentioned the whole friendship aspect in movies because, and it's a bit long-winded, but bear with me on this because
Yeah, sure.
there's a lot of work coming out which it's all adaptations of pre-existing stuff, or even in the terms of streaming services, they turn a film into a series for some stupid reason. But one film that came out this year, which initially I was not interested in, but again, my youngest son badgered me into watching, was Project Hail Mary.
I
And
loved it.
I know you've written about this, and I ended up absolutely loving it.
Yeah, it was so good.
Rocky is a fantastic character, and
Oh
the
yeah,
friendship they bond over in that.
yeah.
Um, and I mention it because, and again, the ending was so charming.
Mhm.
But he also badgered his two sisters into watching it with him. And slight spoiler here, but I'll be as vague as possible. My youngest daughter, she didn't have dry eyes for most of that
Oh,
film,
oh yeah. No,
and
no, no.
the
Mine
scene,
too.
yeah,
Mine too.
the scene when it looked like a certain character was not going to make it following a very brave sacrifice, she paused the film and she threatened my son with physical violence if he died, for that brief moment when Nicky sort of sat there and sort of considered his options. But
Yeah, when we saw that in the theater, and I was also crying. I'm a crier, but
yeah,
I looked over and my daughter, it was just tears streaming down her face, just like, oh, so worried.
hmm,
It was it was just such a delightful movie. I'm
yeah,
so glad that Amazon released that movie in theaters, and that they
yes.
released Masters of the Universe in theaters, because these are really good movies, and
Well,
we need more movies like them.
the Master of the Universe thing, I kind of view that as a tragedy
It's a tragedy.
that it didn't do so well. Because I mean, I'll be
Same with
honest.
D&D.
Yeah,
They
I'll be
both
totally
bombed.
honest. I haven't had the chance to see Master of the Universe yet because it's been a wild year for me. But that's another story
Yeah.
altogether.
Well,
But when I
hear
read that it only made so much at the cinema, I thought, wow, really? And
Yeah.
but the problem is, I think a lot of that comes down to fatigue on the general public.
And it's an older brand, and people who are enthusiastic have become jaded You
Yes,
don't trust
which I
the movie
understand.
makers anymore. And so when you actually talk to people who are skeptical, I was skeptical,
Mm.
but when you actually talk to a lot of these people, they were like, actually, holy shit, that was a really good movie. Like
Hmm.
that was like exactly the kind of movie I was hoping it would be. And the same with the D&D movie. I think a lot of people were either just like, that's for nerds, or they were pissed off at Hasbro, or, they didn't trust because we've all been burned so many times.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
that didn't do well. And I think that's a tragedy too. It really
Yes,
is. Because these
but
are
also,
really good movies.
but also, I do point a finger of blame to some extent at streaming services
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because
definitely.
there is a lot of shit on these services. And I'll give this one example. My wife and I, we hadn't watched a disaster movie in a long time because I love disaster movies.
Sure.
And there was one on Amazon called 13 Minutes. It's titled that because it's the length of warning you get for a tornado hits. I'm
Ah,
like, oh, cool, tornado movie. Let's watch this. This will be good. So before the tornado hits, you get a story of a Christian farmer using migrants to run his farm. You've got his in the closet son who's having an affair with one of them. The wife works in an abortion clinic, is talking a woman out of having an abortion. You've got migrants working at a hotel being treated shit by the owner. There's a couple of other stories in there. Also, the woman who's pregnant, she's had an affair with a married man, and it got to like 45 minutes into it, and I paused it and I said to my wife, I thought this was a fucking disaster movie. Did I miss something here? And
no, it's a disaster of a movie.
yeah. And she goes, oh, let's just get it over with. And the movie was an hour and 20 minutes long, I think. And the tornado hits at the 50-minute mark. And you get a little bit of afterwards and it finishes. And I sat and thought, my God, that was fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
But I think that's also those sorts of movies out there have really burned people. Because also regarding cinemas, they're not cheap to go to.
No.
So
No, they're not.
what do you think of that sort of aspect of it?
Oh, well, I think that there's a glut of content, right? There's just so much.
Yes.
So it's really hard to know what's good. And that's why I have steered my own career a little bit more towards like I have my weekly guide of what's coming out, and I
Yes.
try to like sift through some stuff, like, because there's just so much shit, but there is a lot of really good stuff too. Like
Yeah.
there's so much good stuff out there. Like I just finished Widow's Bay on Apple TV, which I would happily watch again right now. It was so fantastic. Apple actually has a lot of good stuff. Task on HBO was phenomenal. There are a lot of really good shows, but there's just so many more bad ones, and a lot of streaming movies I think are generally not great.
Yeah, because I was a fan of Breaking Bad and I watched El Camino, and El Camino bored the living shit out of me.
So I liked El Camino. Like I didn't love it, but I kind of liked just Jesse getting happy, like his happy ending.
I liked
it was cathartic for me.
Yeah,
I guess,
I'd call it a 2 out of 5 movie. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah,
but for the most part, it was just boring.
Yeah, it was certainly not on the level of Breaking Bad or Better
No.
Call Saul, which were masterpieces, start to finish. I just finished watching Better Call Saul with my kids, who, I'd already seen it, but God, that's a great show. There is a lot of good stuff. I think the other problem, though, with streaming is that there is now, hey, if you just wait a couple months, you can watch it on streaming.
Yeah.
And for a while, they were doing it at the same time. It's coming out on streaming and theaters at the same time. And before, you could wait a couple months and then you had to buy the DVD. So when you had to buy the DVD, well, there was another way for studios to make money. So there was a way to make, it didn't have to be a huge box office success because they were going to sell DVDs. And so, actually Matt Damon has a great little
I've seen the clip
explainer of this, where he puts it very succinctly, and the loss of the DVD. Although I support physical media and I have bought many 4K Blu-rays and I love them. I still
do it. Yeah.
The thing that convinced me is we had gone to see the new Mad Max, the Furiosa one, which I really liked actually. And then I was like, let's go watch Fury Road right now. I've got the Blu-ray. So we went home to my house and we put on the Blu-ray and we were watching it with my surround sound on my big ass TV. And I've got the whole setup. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then it started skipping. And I was like, oh, fuck. All right, let's just switch over to streaming. And I switched over to streaming. It was unreal how much worse it looked and sound. Like, it was just such a drastic difference.
Yeah.
And so I think we've lost lots of things through streaming, but also it's so convenient. Like, we can't deny that it's just like so nice to be able to be like search through all these different things and there's something I want to watch. Like, I don't have to go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and like walk around the aisles and try to find a VHS or something. Like,
I'm still very much into physical media because, for example, Hail Mary, I'm waiting for the Blu-ray to come out.
Yeah,
it's because extra features.
It's worth it.
Yeah, because they put a commentary from the director's song, which I love to listen to. But other than that, you got deleted scenes in one feature. I thought, guys, you could have done a bit better with that. On the other hand,
and the sound too. I mean, just the sound. It's great.
But on the other hand, I love collecting Blu-rays of old movies. And for example, I got this week.
Oh, Falling Down. I haven't seen that in a minute.
And I love that. And there's actually
that's a tense ass movie.
Yeah, but you've got this much effort being put into the special features. I mean, there's some archival ones, but again, I love going through that. And for example, also they did a special edition Arrow of Dark City, where they
cool.
That's some good treatment.
That's a crazy movie.
Oh, it's a brilliant movie.
I'm waiting. There's still some stuff like I finally got Seven Samurai that finally came out on 4K. True Grit, the Coen Brothers movie, has not come out on 4K yet, which is crazy to me. Last of the Mohicans, I think, is still not out on, and I would just love to have that on a restored 4K, like special, like Criterion Collection edition or something. But it is fun to have the media, and it's just I whenever I can, I try to watch the movies that I love on a disc rather than on streaming, especially when I'm watching it with like my kids, who I want them to experience like this is it. Like I got Lawrence of Arabia, which I still haven't watched yet because it's kind of a big commitment. But what a beautiful film. I remember watching that as a kid, and like I am excited to just finally sit down and watch that. And the restoration, the 4K restoration, I think, like, I don't know, streaming is really, really convenient, and it's great for like whatever. But like I even like I bought Andor on 4K. Like I love that show, and we watched that in 4K. I don't know that they did season 2 in a Blu-ray though. I bought the first season of Arcane in 4K because I thought that was a really beautiful.
That was a great season.
Yeah, the second season was kind of meh, but you know, anytime I can get like the disc. I love holding it. I love the books. I love I just got Excalibur. Yeah. So I'm very excited about physical media, and I think I think it's crazy that like PlayStation is like, well, we're not going to do discs anymore. It's like, are you guys out of your absolute minds? Like, people will spend money on this, good money on having these games on a disc. I
saw it and that announcement, and I thought, well, it's your funeral.
Yeah. No, Sony is just they've gone downhill so far. It's like it's kind of insane, honestly.
Do you? I mean, what another besides the superhero movies, which was obviously discussed, you've now got this whole thing of reboots, remakes, legacy sequels. I mean, the reboots and the remakes, they don't tend to do well at the box office, but the legacy sequels really do pull in the big bucks. A lot of them aren't for me. I mean, Devil Wears Prada 2, I was not interested in that.
I didn't even care about the first one.
No, but I saw at the cinema the only two at the time. I Know What You Did Last Summer movies, and I watched I only saw them because they were bored. I was bored, and they were okay. But obviously, in the second one, Jennifer Love Hewitt in a bikini. But I got. This is what part of the thing that I think is wrong with a lot of modern movies is some of the writing is absolute dog shit, and I never get tired of playing this clip because I had an editor on the show last year, and I showed it to her, and she eye rolled hard. because this is from the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, where the killer is revealed. By the way, that's the killer there. Now, ignore the fact that if these two girls who, when confronted with her, could easily have taken her out, and ignore the fact that fucking annoying noise the hook makes when she swings it at them. It's what she says when one of the women calls her a crazy psycho bitch that just made me roll my fucking eyes. And here we go.
Don't do anything stupid. Eva.
You're a crazy psycho bitch!
You shouldn't call women crazy, Eva. It's so reductive. A strong, empowered woman takes control of her destiny, and then suddenly she's labeled as crazy. Now, are you gonna keep interrupting me, or are you gonna let me fucking finish?
Is it parody? Yeah. Like, is it parody of the dialogue around like female empowerment? Like, I can't tell.
I mean, that to me is a case of the writer putting their own hang-ups.
Yeah, really on the nose too.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, really? I mean,
now compare that to the scene in Hook when Hook is considering suicide, and he's talking to Smee. Don't you dare stop me, Smee. Don't you stop me.
Yeah.
Don't you dare, Smee, stop me.
Yeah,
stop me. That's good writing involving a hook.
Yeah. Do you think the budgets for a lot of these movies are too expensive now? Do you think they need to be toned down given the economic times we're living in?
Maybe, or maybe they need to reorient where they're spending the money.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at something like Andor and like, holy shit, that was an expensive show to make, and it wasn't a big enough success to justify it.
Yeah.
And yet I'm so glad it was made because the writing was phenomenal. The cinematography is phenomenal. Like, it's just an extraordinary project, and I'm so happy that it got created. So I'm glad that they spent their money on that, because Disney spends their money on tons of garbage all the time.
Oh god, yeah.
So like, thank God they spent a bunch of money on a good show. Like, cool. I don't know. Like, probably they probably already have. I mean, Marvel, they spend a lot of money, but like, where is it going? CGI keeps looking worse every year. Like, I don't know if it's the amount of money or just the fact that they seem to not know. So many of these studios, like, I don't know how many fucking Jurassic Park movies we've gotten now, but none of them remembered what made the first movie great.
No,
you know, the best Jurassic Park movie since Jurassic Park was A Quiet Place. And it's not even a Jurassic Park movie.
I mean,
but it knew what made that movie work, you know, in a way that no other Jurassic Park movie has since. And
my wife and I, we went and watched
$1 billion.
Yeah, we went and watched Jurassic World at the cinema.
Yeah,
and I was bored. And if I'm totally honest, I wanted those two kids eaten because they annoyed the living shit out of me. But and also ignore the silly scene where Bryce Dallas Howard is able to sprint wearing heels. Fuck off.
Or like training velociraptors. Like, what the fuck?
A lot of it was just retreads of old stories.
Yeah.
And
I didn't watch any after that. I
didn't either. I mean, and I know that with the latest one that came out, they literally, I think the scene where the T-Rex is chasing them in the river when they're on the dinghy, I think that was literally pulled from the first script. It was a cut scene or something like that. And you just think, so you're not making a movie, you're cobbling it together. So I can't stand those movies now, because I remember when the first Jurassic Park came out and it was an event.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now I will not give them the time of day.
Well, that's why I love the pitch meetings guy.
Oh yeah. It's super
he just does such a
convenient.
Yeah. I quote that in a lot of my pieces actually. Yeah. Because it's so perfect. But he's even movies I like that he spoofs, like I see where he's like, he does it lovingly for some of them, but
of course.
But it's like, it's just so obvious how little real effort goes into the writing for so many of it. And then when you see a movie that's well written, like Weapons or you know, and any number of, like, there are a lot of really great movies still being made, and the writing is really the chief thing that makes a difference.
Yeah,
because like, you can always hire good actors and you can hire good directors, and you can. But if you're not spending any money on a script and it's just the same every Marvel movie is like, we have to save the world from this new villain, and someone's dead, but they're not really dead, and that's the plot. Every single. It's like, can we get something more? Actually, what was it, Mr. Marvel? What's the one with Ben Kingsley?
The Mandarin, Iron Man 3.
Yeah, but he's in the new show.
I think I'm seeing it because again, I checked out of this stuff.
Is it Captain Marvel? That's the movie. Now I get them mixed up. It's okay. Ben Kingsley, Marvel. Wonder Man. This sounds like Captain Marvel. The Wonder Man show actually was really good. Like, that's some of the most fun I've had with a Marvel product in a long time, because it's about two actors auditioning for this movie, Wonder Man, and you get Ben Kingsley just having a blast, and he's such a talented actor. Absolutely. And there's a scene where he quotes from the movie Amadeus. And F. Murray Abraham's some of his lines, and I was just like, okay, I'm watching a Marvel show where Ben Kingsley is doing lines from Amadeus, and that's cool. Like, that's good writing. Like, I was really impressed with that show for the most part, and it wasn't like a huge budget. Like, there wasn't a ton of action or like crazy villains or world ending. Or like the stakes were unique. They weren't the same dumb shit. I just want to see more things like that. Like, just give me stakes that are personal. Give me the villain doesn't have to be there to destroy the whole world. Or it can just be someone who has betrayed a friend. It can just be trying to get revenge because some asshole Russian killed your puppy dog. Like, like, I don't know.
But of course, also with these movies, there's the unfortunate thing of politics and activist viewpoints that are in or around them, because obviously the fucking Odyssey is still being talked about 2 weeks later. And I should point out, this movie was not for me, and I didn't give a toss about it. Because whilst I like some of Nolan's work, I love, what was it? The Majestic? No, is it Majestic? I'm saying that? No, the Prestige. The Prestige.
The Prestige. Yep. I need to see it.
I love the Batman stuff, but I didn't bother with Oppenheimer because I don't do historical biopics. They just don't.
Oppenheimer might have been my least favorite of his films.
But also reading it was like 3 hours. No, thank you. I've got better things to do.
I had to go to that one by myself. No one would go with me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it was okay.
And obviously, because the big fuss is the surrounding the casting of Lupita Nyong'o. I did think it was a weird casting choice because, again, I'm not an expert on the geography of the area, and I'm happy to be corrected on this. But I did think, okay, I don't think there were Black Greeks at the time. Again, I could be wrong.
Well,
I did find it a strange choicing. However, that was not the one that caught my attention. It was John Leguizamo. And I know we talked about this because this was a guy who's harped on about authentic casting for movies.
Sure.
And I know he went after Chris Pratt publicly for voicing Mario in the Mario.
Which is silly.
Yeah. Forgetting a fact, of course, that he was Luigi in the Mario Brothers movie from many movies.
Right.
I remember seeing him been announced in the movie, and I went, okay, so here's a Colombian guy who's playing a Greek, and if you want me to be really petty about it, he's playing a blind Greek. So hold on a bit. Shouldn't
we have a blind person?
Yeah. That goes on. And because my ultimate point of this is that Hollywood, the hypocrisy is so rife with this because they're on about authentic casting until it suits. That was what caught my attention about it. But other than that,
corporate Hollywood is full of shit. And I think I'm going to excuse Nolan from this because I don't think he cares about DEI woke shit at all. I think Nolan has a lot of, I would say, small c conservative messages in his movies to begin with. And so I would definitely not put him on the radical woke left. And I don't think he was casting to represent or to win Oscars, because you can actually you can qualify for Oscars for having a diverse crew. You don't need to have a diverse cast.
But the thing is, I'd have to ask, would he even care about it? Because he's won most of them for.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about any of that. I think he cast a bunch of people that he wanted to work with because he's that level of director. He cast a lot of people he's worked with before. Almost all of the main cast, not all of them, but so many of them he had worked with in previous movies, maybe multiple times even. And he cast the people that he saw. The debate around this movie is kind of driving me crazy because
I'm long bored of it now.
I have like a philosophy. I'll try to make this really quick. If you are making a historically accurate like movie about World War II, or you want to make a really historically accurate movie about like this 14th century Germany or 5th century Britain, then you better cast it to look realistic. Now, if you're making if your vision is not to be super realistic and it's a myth, and you're going to bring in like magic, and you're going to go fully colorblind, and you just don't really care about that, fine, that's your vision, that's cool. If you're casting something that is supposed to have regional accuracy, but you cast people as tokenistic, just like for diversity, so you can advertise it like Amazon did with Rings of Power. That pisses me off. Or like The Winter King I talked about. I don't know if you ever read those books, but Bernard Cornwell, who wrote those and many other great historical fictions, his whole purpose of writing The Winter King, the Warlord trilogy, was to try to take, the Arthurian myth was anglicized, right, by English kings in the 12th and 13th century. So King Arthur became not a Welsh hero, but a knight in shining armor, which they didn't have shining armor back then. So Cornwell's books were very historically like accurate, even though Arthur is a myth. He tried to make them as true to that time as possible, and he even had a character who was black, a Roman centurion, like, who had stayed, from Northern Africa, who had stayed in that area, but he was the only black person anyone had ever seen, and so it's Sangramar. And so he was a really interesting character in those books because he would strike terror into people just because he was black and no one had seen a black man before, right? But then they made this show and they made Merlin black, and they made it was just totally, and I'm like, okay, if this was just a random Arthurian myth, I could give a shit. But you took this specifically designed to be historically accurate trilogy and you tried to adapt it in a colorblind way, and that makes no sense. But for the Odyssey, which has been told over and over again for 2,700 years, I'm like, whatever Nolan wants to do, I don't care. It works for me. It's okay. In a way, Helen of Troy being black is actually kind of interesting because it's like she's so unique. She's the only black character in the world, and so she was now this almost this I don't want to say objectified, but like this, Helen in general was put on a pedestal, right?
Yes.
She was, and in the movie, she's like the excuse for the war. And
I remember.
In a way, that kind of works, and I kind of respect that works, and maybe that's just my interpretation of it. But this didn't bother me. Whereas Rings of Power and the way that Amazon advertised, like, we have so much diversity, and let's put all of our minority our actors in a panel to show off our diversity. It just felt very corporate and very like that corporate DEI, which is so fake.
Well,
they don't even believe in it.
Yeah, the funny thing is with Amazon, with the Rings of Power, was the worst casting choice for me personally was not any of the black actors. It was the woman that played Galadriel.
Oh, she's awful.
I thought she was awful.
And she's actually decent in other things, but and that's the writing, I think, in the direction.
Of course.
Those fuckers have no idea what they're doing.
No.
There's a new trailer out for season 3. I haven't watched it yet.
I'm not going to bother.
I am, because I have so much fun. I have so much fun talking shit about that shit.
But I mean, to go back to the Odyssey, I mean, whilst a lot of this stuff just passed me by, because like I said, I didn't give a toss about it, and I still don't. There is part of me that does understand where I don't want to call it anger, but distaste, if you want to say, regarding that casting comes up, because obviously over here in the UK we had a Cleopatra show. where not what Cleopatra, sorry, it was Anne Boleyn, where
Oh, right.
she was
Anne Boleyn.
portrayed as a black woman. I'm going, and then you had Sir Isaac Newton in a Doctor Who episode being portrayed as a brown guy when he wasn't.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then
I
you
mean,
had and then you had the whole controversy surrounding that Netflix Cleopatra show, where apparently because one person's grandmother said she was black, they decided to do that for the whole series, which last I checked pissed off all of Egypt. So I'm not even going to bother mentioning Black Snape in any long context.
that is a really, really interesting choice.
Yeah, but I get where it comes from in that respect.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think, again, I would say that something like if you're trying to do an Anne Boleyn series that is historically accurate, you should cast it that way.
Yeah.
But I really liked this show called My Lady Jane, which is a colorblind casting show. But literally the narrator at the very beginning, the whole show is based on a book that changes history. And the whole thesis of the show from the get-go is fuck history. I mean, they say that in the opening lines. And so they're not trying to be historically accurate. They're just having fun. And it's a funny, entertaining, and well-written show. So that didn't bother me. But again, if they were making like the real story of Lady Jane Grey and her execution, I would want them to cast that accordingly. Yeah. And so I think that it is a more nuanced discussion than just, is this DEI? Is this woke? Is this like that becomes very sort of generic and shallow. And I think there is more to it than that.
But I also got amused. I mean, I'll say this last thing on the Odyssey, because again, I'm tired of this conversation regarding that fucking film. There were people saying it was going to bomb and etc. etc. Now, we have a saying over here, and I'll implement that for this. Christopher Nolan could take a shit on a glass table and people would watch it. So for those of you,
would this shit keep spinning?
Yeah. Good one. Yeah. That was never going to fail.
No, it was never going to fail. And it's honestly remarkable. Like, and I hate all the comparisons. Like, well, like some people are like, it's doing better than Batman. And other people are like, well, Batman with inflation. It's like, okay, Batman is a huge cultural like phenomenon. Of course, that's going to be a success on a different scale than the Odyssey, which is like something we dreaded having to read in 10th grade, you know?
Yeah.
So whatever. Yeah. I enjoyed the film. It wasn't perfect. There were things I would have done absolutely differently than Nolan.
The use of modern vernacular made me feel
some of it bothered me. By the end, I kind of got what he was going for. And so I respected the choice, but it was difficult at times.
Yeah.
I do have to end this.
No, so
unfortunately, because I have a dentist appointment to go to.
That's okay.
But this has been a lovely conversation, though.
So. Well, I'll finish on this then, because I always do this at the last part of my streams. Yeah. But I like to finish with the Pivo questionnaire, which is obviously made famous inside the Actors Studio. So, Eric, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word? I don't have a favorite word. I have a few, I guess. I really like cacophony.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Oh, God. Woke.
What turns you on?
Hot women.
What turns you off?
Bad smells.
What is your favorite curse word?
Oh, boy. My favorite curse word. Well, I'm rather fond of bloody.
Okay. That's a good old English one. What sound or noise do you like?
What sound of noise do I like?
Sound or noise do you like?
Or noise do I like? Acoustic guitar.
Good choice. What sound or noise do you hate?
Cats having sex.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
You cut out there.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Viking Raider. Yeah.
What profession other than yours would you absolutely not like to attempt?
Would you not like to attempt? Politician.
Yeah, good choice. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Alcohol has no negative consequences here.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can find Erik's written work on Forbes and, of course, on his Substack. And if you're in for a debate, always find him on Twitter. Erik, I appreciate the time you've given me today, and it's been wonderful talking to you.
It's been a blast.
And I look forward to our whatever engagements we have in the future on Twitter. But thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Take care, everyone. See you next time.
See you.